Well, welcome to our live stream today. My name is Greg Witt, and I'm the founder and Chief Adventure Officer of Alpenwild. And we're so pleased to have all of you joining us today, and especially thankful to have Louis Waterman Evans and Sofie with us, two of our wonderful guides. And they guide on a number of trips. You've probably seen them maybe on the Haute Route or Best of the Swiss Alps or in the Jungfrau. But today we're talking about the Eiger to Matterhorn. And we do these live streams. Of course, we have our YouTube channel with over 100 videos. And we have bi-monthly newsletters that go out that feature many of our tours. But when we have a new tour or something special to feature, then we have a live stream. That's a great way to engage with our many guests out there. So thank you for joining us. So today we're talking about the Eiger to Matterhorn tour, and it's an interesting tour because we really developed this back in 2014 in preparation for 2015, which was the 150th anniversary of the first ascent of the Matterhorn. And so we wanted a tour that celebrated the rich history and culture of alpine mountaineering and a lot of these historic mountain passes and the traditions of the golden age of alpinism. And but the itinerary is so spectacular, and the terrain that we cover, and also being able to take in these two iconic peaks of the Alps, that it kind of overshadows the history and tradition, the great legends associated with this. So as we talk about that, we'll kind of answer your questions and be able to address what the tour is all about. Louis and Sofie, thank you so much for joining us today. Just you've guided this now, and do you have any impressions, overall general impressions about this tour that you want to share with us?
Yeah, I think it's start with the beginning and the end, Grindelwald and Zermatt, and these are both incredible must-see towns in the Swiss Alps, but it's the journey between them that makes this a really special tour. So it's a journey through mountaineering history, trekking between these iconic peaks of the Eiger and the Matterhorn, but there's many other peaks in the Alps too. In fact, where we start in Grindelwald, we're at the base of the Wetterhorn, a lesser known peak, but it's the peak that triggered the start of the golden age of alpinism. And we soak up that mountaineering history on this tour. We have a couple of big pass days as well, where we go over Sophienenfugge and Hoturli, and we often visit a hut on the pass at Hoturli and called Blumnisabhütte, and rub shoulders with the mountaineers there. There's people coming in with ice axes and crampons and things, so it's quite a special experience. So that feel of it, kind of coming up close with mountaineering history, I think for me is really special about this tour.
That's so true, and we talk about the Eiger and the Matterhorn. Of course, those are the kind of the focal points of this tour. But what we don't mention is that along the way, you come within view of about 28 of the highest peaks of the Alps, and so they're all on display. And certainly the Bernese Alps is just a choice, spectacular region with the highest concentration of glaciers in the Alps, as well as the famous peaks. So there's a lot to look forward to. Well, let's just kind of look at the itinerary and give a quick overview. But you could land in Zurich or Milan or Geneva, but most of our guests come into Zurich. They fly from Zurich, fly into Zurich, and then take a quick train down to Grindelwald, which is where the tour starts. Of course, Grindelwald is a famous hiking haven and a great place to start the tour. Grindelwald is set below the north face of the Eiger. So as you're in the village of Grindelwald, from your hotel balcony and from your room, you'll look out at 5,000 vertical feet of rock and ice, which is the north face of the Eiger. A lot of tradition, tragedy, and triumph that's taken place on that north face, and you'll be right up close. And we take a hike on the first day that takes us right up to the along the north face, and where climbers begin their ascent. We also include the one of the great railway journeys of the world, which we include the Jungfraujoch. And so we ascend we tunnel through the Eiger on a train and arrive at the highest railway station in Europe, overlooking the longest glacier in the Alps. That's the Alpine Glacier down there. So it's a great way to start the tour, a great way to become familiar with the Eiger and the Jungfrau region. From there, we cross over the Kleine Scheidegg and go to the sister valley of Grindelwald, which is the Lauterbrunnen Valley. And Grindelwald is a big, expansive, wide open valley. And the Lauterbrunnen Valley is just the opposite. It's a very narrow, deep cut glacial valley. If you've been to Yosemite, Lauterbrunnen Valley is a lot like Yosemite. If you haven't been to Yosemite, go to Lauterbrunnen Valley and you'll enjoy it. It's a wonderful place to capture just the power of glaciers. And you see those walls on the Lauterbrunnen Valley. There are 72 waterfalls as you go up the valley that cascade off the edge of the Lauterbrunnen Valley, including some of the highest waterfalls in the Alps. So it's a gorgeous place. We stay on both sides of the valley, on the Wengen side, and then cross the valley and go on to the Müren side. It's hard to pick a favorite, but do you have, Louis and Sophie, do you have any favorite spots or experiences in Lauterbrunnen Valley that you love to share?
It's hard to pick, as you say, Greg. So, I mean, the photo you've got up now, I would say one of my favorite moments on this tour is actually the morning hike from Wengen when you arrive in Lauterbrunnen, because you get to walk that view that you're having on the photo right now.
Sophie, that's your photo too, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that is actually a photo from that hike.
By the way, just tell our guests, many of the photos that we're showing today were taken by Louis and Sophie. Not only are they great guides, but great photographers. So you'll experience that. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then you mentioned the waterfalls, and one thing we always do in Lauterbrunnen is to visit the Trümmelbach Falls, which is this mind-blowing cascade of 10 waterfalls inside the mountain. And I won't say much more than that because I think it has to be experienced. But I've been coming back, a number of times now, and it just blows my mind every time. It's such a powerful experience. I think that's one of my Lauterbrunnen highlights, apart from just being in that valley being really magical.
Right. Well, so the Lauterbrunnen Valley and Grindelwald are both very popular tourist destinations. But then the next morning we escape. We leave the tourists behind and we take off into the wilds of the Bernese Alps. And we do that. We depart Müren and then head up toward, this is the Rotstockhütte, which is a mountain hut restaurant. We'll probably have lunch there, and then continue up and over those mountain passes that you see in the background. And as we depart and continue over the mountains, we arrive at our first night after departing Müren, and that's in Grindelwald. And Grindelwald is a little Alpine hamlet. It's not a town or a village. It's just an Alpine hamlet. But there's some wonderful hotels there. And below Grindelwald, you can see in the picture here, there's a spectacular, I don't know what you call it. In German, it's called Wildwasser, wild water. And that's what it really is. It's just a wild water canyon where two waterfalls from two sides of the valley meet and collide and then form a river that leads down into the valley. So it's a beautiful area. So we do Alpine cheese making as well as explore Wildwasser on a rest day, and then of course you have a spa hotel there to relax and enjoy if you want to make it a little more restful, a rest day. From there we continue on over the next pass, which is the Hoturli, to arrive at Ocean and Sea. And let's see, back up one photo. I think we have okay. Anyway, we continue over the next pass to there it is, Ocean and Sea, and this is considered by many to be the most beautiful lake in Switzerland, and I'm not going to disagree. What do you think, Louis and Sophie? Is that a gorgeous setting or what?
Yeah, it's amazing, and you approach it from above as well, so you have the view for many hours, and then you walk around the lake as well. So it's not just glimpse it and then say goodbye. You see it from many different angles, and we often go and dip our feet in if it's been a hot day, and by that time it's quite nice to get the feet out the boots and dip our feet in the water.
We can testify it's got healing powers for tired feet. That lake.
Well, then from Ocean and Sea, we continue on and then stay the night down in Kandersteg. From Kandersteg, we ascend the Gemmi Pass, and this is the photo of the Gemmi Pass. And I show this photo because you need to know that the Gemmi Pass, before they built a tunnel through the connect the Bernese Alps with the Rhone Valley, this was the predominant pass. Has a long history. It was a smuggler's route, and there was a lot of famous travelers. I mean, anybody that wanted to get from the Bernese Alps to the Rhone Valley took the Gemmi Pass, and so it's a well-traveled trade route and traveler's route. And in fact, Mark Twain and Picasso and Jules Verne and Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Lenin, they all traveled this pass. This was the standard way to get from one side of the Alps to the other. But it's an easy pass, but then coming down, you descend along this cliff wall. It was carved out by Austrian people that had miners that had use of explosives. And then we arrive in Leukerbad, and Leukerbad is the largest thermal spa in the Alps, and so you'll enjoy relaxing and easing those muscles in this beautiful thermal spa. As we approach Zermatt, we cross the suspension bridge at Randa, and it's about a third of a mile long, and it's about 27 inches wide. It's this ribbon of steel that crosses this chasm, leading on to Zermatt. And then finally we arrive in Zermatt. And of course, the Matterhorn is incomparable, probably the most photographed mountain in the world. And we on our tours, we always stay 2 nights in Zermatt. And the reason is this. First of all, there's a lot to do there. But the real reason is, if you just stay 1 night in Zermatt, odds are you may never see the Matterhorn. It could be weather or whatever. But if you stay 2 nights, we've never not seen it. We've always seen the Matterhorn. So plan on staying 2 nights in Zermatt. And of course, we have a wonderful 4-star spa hotel there in Zermatt. Louis and Sophie, that's just a quick glimpse of the tour, just a quick overview. I've probably forgotten 100 things. Anything stand out that you'd want to mention?
Yeah, sure. So there's at least 3 unique features to this tour that guests wouldn't see in any other tour, as far as I'm aware. At least 3. So this is not just, there are maybe more. First of them is a stay in Wengen, and descending down into Lauterbrunnen. So that's pretty magical. Day 3, I think Sophie's already mentioned that. The second is crossing over the Gemmi Pass from Kandersteg. So, the first half of this tour is we share the same route as the Bernese Oberland Traverse, but from Kandersteg we then change direction and we cross over into a different canton Valais, when we drop down into Leukerbad over the Gemmi Pass. And as you've said, that's a journey of historical significance. And yeah, it's pretty special, and you often get views of the Matterhorn and many other 4,000 meter peaks that when you're there. And yeah, the third thing is, like you just mentioned, Randa Suspension Bridge, the world's longest suspension bridge, and we walk across that on our journey into Zermatt. And like you said, it's quite a special experience. And that, so when we arrive into Zermatt, we cross over that as part of our journey to reach the base of the Matterhorn. So yeah, it's pretty unique features to this tour that guests wouldn't find on any other Alpenwild tour.
And of course we talk about Grindelwald and Zermatt, and most people that come to the Alps and come to the Swiss Alps will have already been to Grindelwald and Zermatt. They're very well known, popular resorts, but we go to some very off the beaten path areas, and I should mention that the two highest passes that we cross, the Sefenenberge and the Hoterli, those aren't trade routes. Those aren't passes that were made for hikers or travelers. Those are passes that were designed specifically to get mountain climbers up to the base camp, up to the hub where they start their climb. So you could hike both of those passes on any given summer day, and you may never see more than 2 or 3 other hikers on the trail. They're just kind of off the beaten path, and yet it's such a gorgeous area, such a beautiful, spectacularly beautiful area. Well, on this trek, let me talk about the difficulty. People always look at the stats, and of course on our website on the itinerary we list the stats: the ascent, the descent, the number of miles that we hike each day, and this particular trip, the Eiger to Matterhorn, has really the 2 highest, most challenging passes of any tour we do, on par with the Tour de Mont Blanc and the Chamonix-Zermatt haute route. Both the Sefenenberge at about 3,300 vertical feet of ascent, and the Hoterli with about 4,600 vertical feet of ascent are challenging passes. Now, to kind of soften that, just know that you'll have your luggage every night, and you can hike with a light day pack, but you're still climbing those passes. But they're I guess Louis and Sophie, I would describe them as challenging, but there's not any exposure and no serious exposure. They're not there's no technical difficulty in those passes. No. Okay. But they're so they're safe, well graded and well designed trails, but just a lot of vertical ascent, which means
you also have the rest day between, Greg, as well. So between those 2 passes, there is the rest day to recover and feel fresh going into the next one.
That's right, and of course that rest day is intentional. We want people to recover and feel like they're charged and full of energy and able to ascend the next pass. So just summing it up, the difficulty, the challenge, how would you rate this trip? What kind of hiker would most enjoy and do best on this trip?
Yeah, great question. I would actually say that we've had both people coming with us on this trip in the past who are like really experienced hikers and enjoy trekking and have found the challenge really great and fun and really enjoyed that. And also people who were maybe a bit nervous about this, how strenuous it was going to be, and it was their first trekking trip, who also found it a challenge that they could do and felt really proud and felt that it was manageable, especially because there is so much rest. And the accommodation is so great on this trip. So you really do get to properly recover after all the hikes, and we really try to build that in. So I think in terms of like your trekking experience, this actually suits quite a range of people, but it is a trek. So it is for people who want the challenge of a trekking tour, you know, who want to experience those trails we just discussed, but also want to stay in pretty luxurious accommodation. We've had quite a few people give us feedback that this tour should have deluxe in the title as well, like some of the other Alpenwild tours. And then, and I mean, then aside from the difficulty, like you mentioned, people who are interested in mountaineering history, in really getting up and close with a lot of the, but maybe, you know, not too close with the big peaks of the Alps. This will be a great tour. And then there's that beautiful focus on the culture of the valleys and the food and everything.
Oh, yes. And Sofie, thanks for mentioning the accommodations. We're staying in really wonderful accommodations all the way through. And there are nobody's camping. You're not in a hut. These are wonderful hotels. Many 3 and 4 star hotels along the way. And just in talking about hotels and accommodations, we conclude at the Grindelwald Resort Spa in Zermatt, one of our favorite hotels. In fact, this outdoor pool that you see, they have an indoor-outdoor pool and spa at the Grindelwald, and Matterhorn view rooms, and just a wonderful restaurant. I think the Grindelwald, I don't know if you were there. Yeah, of course, you were there last summer. The Grindelwald, with their expanded dining room, they have the best breakfast in the Alps. I think it's my favorite as far as a breakfast spot. And of course, wonderful dinner too, and beautiful spa and Matterhorn views. Any other favorite hotels or accommodations along the way?
Yeah, so I'd say, of course, Hotel Gletschergarten in Grindelwald as well. This hotel, if people aren't familiar with it, I really recommend Googling it, looking at pictures of the amazing flowers that Gabby puts out the front of the hotel. It's been in the same family for over 5 generations. Feels like home for us, returning to see Gabby, Jerry, and their 2 sons who have now managing the hotel next to it as of next year. So so that's pretty special. Grindelwald, this setting is just amazing, and we have 2 nights there. They have the sauna and steam room there, which is incredible. And at breakfast there, so you say the breakfast at Grindelwald is great, but at Grindelwald they also have this incredible honeycomb that you can break off at breakfast, and it's so nice. So it really feels like that you're getting rest there, eating well, relaxing on that rest day. Of course, Leukebad is great too. There's just so many amazing hotels on this trip, but in Leukebad, the food is fantastic. You always get an amuse-bouche from the kitchen, which is nice surprise.
It is. There's surprises and just beautiful hotels, but also wonderful food all along the way. And that one thing I observed about this particular tour and the Bernese Alps in general is that as you cross through the Bernese Alps, that there's usually there's no place where you can't see or hear or be within range of water, whether it's glaciers, waterfalls, lakes, running streams and rivers. It's just filled with water. And particularly in July, this tour begins July 23rd this summer. And so the trails are still fresh. The waters and waterfalls are still gushing, and then you conclude at the Matterhorn, and the black-necked goats are just they're perched looking for a great view of the Matterhorn. Well, that kind of sums up the tour and the itinerary. And if you have any questions, please send them along. I forgot to mention at the start of this live stream. Appreciate Missy. She's behind the scenes taking care of all the technology and passing along your questions. But now we have a special offer. For those of you that joined us here on the live stream today, we have an exclusive offer for our viewers and those of our guests that are joining us. And we're having a $150 off offer for this tour for each person per person. And that is valid through Friday. So you have 3 days. Offer ends February 10th. And the code is Eiger, EIGER. And if you have any questions, you can do that online. But if you have any questions, be sure to call. And I think you'll find that Missy and Tari and Tessa and Jenna, others on our staff will be happy to help you answer any questions. And if they have any questions that you want to forward by email to Louis or Sofie or myself, we'd be happy to answer those questions in detail for you. So that, if there's no other questions, want to thank you for joining us today, and look forward to seeing you in the Alps this summer. Thank you. Goodbye.